of the Holy Spirit is self-control. It doesn't say it's the work of the Holy Spirit, it's the fruit. Fruits, I see how my trees in the backyard produce fruit. There is no sweating. There is no child, like you don't see striving, you see yielding. Trees naturally produce. The Holy Spirit is saying this, is that if you make it your goal to pursue me without striving, without purity, self-control, all those things will begin to come natural, effortlessly. The only effort you have to put in is to run after Him. So all their effort is not to be free, is to run. When you put the effort to run, God says, I put the effort to bring purity. That even when you're free, I bring deeper levels of purity with every season of your life. Because being free is not God's goal. God's goal is purity of heart. You can be free, but not walk in purity. And that's why some of us, what happens is that we walk in freedom and we think, well, I beat this sin, I beat that addiction, I no longer struggle with that. But at the same time, the purity of heart is deeper than that. And you can't do that by trying to make yourself pure. You can only do that by putting an effort to pursue. And God says, now that you put in the time to pursue, I'm not talking about just showing up to church. I am not talking about having a YouVersion Bible app, pop a verse in the morning and I read one verse, I'm now fed with God. You know what? I'm not like pleasantly plumb, but I need more than a crumb to get me fed. Oh, I just pray, I turn on my favorite K-Love song on my way to work, and those 10 minutes while I'm eating my burrito from Taco Bell, and I'm also putting on my makeup and I'm spending my time with God. Now that is a great thing that you have going with the Lord. I applaud you, but that looks more to me like being parked in the garage than pursuing. You got to pursue the Lord. You got to pursue the Holy Spirit if you want to live in purity. Number 2. If we look at the verse again in 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 22, it says, flee youthful lusts but pursue. So the second thing that I want you to write this down is that we are not called to fight lust but to flee it. God didn't anoint us to fight lust. He only called us to flee lust. He called you and I to fight Satan but not lust. I find it interesting that the Bible nowhere says for us to fight lust. It always says to flee lust, but to fight the devil. Can I tell you something? Lust is stronger than the devil. You can beat the devil, you can't beat lust. The only way you beat lust is run from it. At the same time as you're running from God, you're running from lust. You're never called to run from the devil, you're called to run from lust, because lust is bigger than the devil. Why is lust worse than the devil? It's because it connects to something inside of you called flesh. And so God says through Paul to my generation, He says it to me, He says it to you. He says this, He doesn't say fight. He says run from it. I don't want to run from it. I can beat it. That's your problem. I cannot tell you how many young men have come up and said, Pastor Vlad, pray for me. Why? I'm fighting with lust. I said, and that's the problem. Stop fighting. I said, where in the Bible did you see God called you to fight with lust? That is why you're losing, because you're picking a fight with an enemy. God thinks you can't win. And you're asking me to help you win when God says you can't? I was like, I can't pray for you to fight lust. I can only pray for you to obey the Bible and flee lust. You nowhere see Joseph fighting Potiphar's wife. He didn't try to evangelize to her. Because if he would try to evangelize to her, both of them would go to lake of fire. You don't see Joseph laying hands on her and casting out a spirit of harlotry out of her. Joseph goes into the house, and the moment the chicas start giving him those dirty looks, and she's been doing it for a very long time, he looked at that and he kept on walking. He pretty much started ignoring her, and she grabbed on him. And what did he do? He didn't say, come over here, I know your daddy didn't love you. Let me pour some love of the Father. You know what? You know, woman, what you need? You just need love. Like, you're fishing for lust. You never had it and actually somebody loved you. Your husband hasn't been paying attention to you. You know, let me just right here on my shoulder. No, Joseph ran from her. I'm going to give you practical things now on how to flee lust. Underneath of this point, write down A. Cut off the hand. Which in other words means remove trigger points in your life. Cut off the hand. What I mean by fleeing lust is this, is that there are things in our life that are trigger points for lust, that they need to be simply cut off. Jesus says if your hand causes you to sin, what did He say? He didn't say bring it to an altar call. He did not say have the pastor pray for your hand. What did Jesus say? But my hand is also used to help people. It's only sinning on one day out of the month. The rest of the 29 days it's doing good. I need God to change my hand. And this is the problem, is that we're not fleeing situations where on good days are good. It's just on the weekdays they're pulling us into sin. Potiphar's wife is not always lustful and horny. Should have not said that word, sorry, bleep that out. Potiphar's wife is not always like that. She's a nice woman. She just has those days where she acts too like this. I can't just run from her. And this is what I find with people. You need to identify your hand that causes you to sin. For some of you it's very simple. It's your Instagram. But half of the other time that you don't fall into sin, Instagram is good. You fellowship with other people. You even brought people to church because of that. And so what you're doing is say, Lord, sanctify my Instagram because it's using good things. And God's idea for you to flee lust is for you to remove, even if it's doing good things for you on good days. So this is what we do. Instead of cutting off the hand, which is what God says, we come up and say, Lord, deliver me. I have people that come up all the time and say, Pastor Vlad, pray for me because I'm battling with lust. My response is that you shouldn't be battling, you should be fleeing. Okay, pray for me to help me to flee lust. Second question I ask is this, which hand are we cutting today? Oh no, Pastor, I'm going to keep all my hands, all my feet and all my fingers. And I say, you can't receive freedom from lust without something being removed. What's being removed? What's being removed? No, it's just all in my heart. Jesus did not say cut your heart. He says cut a trigger point. There is trigger points for lust. For some people the trigger point is simple. It's at night they relax. I believe a single person, a person who is not married should not have free time. I believe when you say free time, devil says my time. For the single unmarried people, especially young men, free time in the evening to relax is demonic time. You should stay as busy as you possibly can. Did you know why Joseph didn't commit sin with Potiphar's wife? He was busy in the house. Did you know why David fell in sin with Bathsheba? It's because David got up in the evening on the balcony after he slept all day. Instead of fighting, he was relaxing, and that's why Satan got him. He couldn't get Joseph like that. So remove free time. Oh, so what do you want me to do? Never have a free time? Nope. You've been singing to Jesus. You gave Him your whole life. It's not yours. So what do you do with free time? You read, you write, you stay away from free time because that's your trigger point. What else is your trigger point? Could it be Snapchat? What else it could be? Could be internet. But I can't believe you would say for me to turn off my internet until God brings that deliverance. I can't live without internet. Well, then you need to make a decision. Do you want to live in sin or do you want to live in freedom?